All right, first off, before we start on these HDC house dance contest videos, part one, there'll be 4 parts. Why? I'm going to explain it in a minute. But first, see if y'all can answer this question since y'all celebrating these weird hollow days. Show me where in any Bible, Quran, Torah, Sutras, that's the Buddhist books, or any spiritual books where you see the races black, white, Latino, Native Indian, Aboriginal. Put it in comments before you watch this. Because once y'all can't find it, you're going to start to unravel a lot of this alien nonsense. Let's dance.
I'm glad you came to me.
See, most people don't comprehend because the system is not allowing it. But everything that's in existence is created. So, with that all being said, whether you believe in a god, gods, goddesses, ancestors, spirits, demons, angels, whatever it is you're allowed to believe in, that creator or whatever it is that allows y'all to believe in it, whatever name it is, Allah, Buddha, God, Elohim, so on and so forth, whether y'all are taught it to lie or not, it doesn't matter because it allowed it to be in existence. So the really wise thing to do is to put it in the place that makes sense so it can work for us productively. That's if we're human and we love this planet that we're allowed to exist on for a certain amount of time. Those who are not human, meaning their skin isn't good for the sun and the plants give them allergies and those other stuff. Again, some of y'all may be going through that because you've had all these strange shots in y'all that the animals and the insects don't have in them. But if this is a problem, the elements of the planet are a problem for y'all, then I comprehend why y'all try to go through all this confusion because y'all are pretty much in pain and irritated every day. Catch that note? Give y'all a minute for that note. The reason why I do things is not to change the world. That's impossible. Y'all are centuries in nonsense. This is nonsense for centuries. It's not something new. It may be crazy for people born in like 1999 and now they're like 20 something years old and this seems crazy, the virus and all that. But anybody that's over 30, you've seen stuff like this before. So it's not a big deal. You die when you die. That's when it's allowed. Whenever that creator or whatever it allows y'all to call it gets rid of us, it created the process. So with that being said, I'm not trying to change the world, but what I'm being used for, this is the correct way to say it, by the creator is to show y'all true choice. So I'm showing y'all a lot of things in the system y'all don't know on education.bfg, lovetheHumanDNA.bfg, gifteddancers.bfg, streetdanceexplained.bfg, and this page, right? I'm showing y'all so many things y'all don't know. Y'all didn't learn in school. So this is giving y'all the true word choice. So now when y'all see what's confusing and destructive, you can move away and go to what's productive. If y'all are given that productive spirit. That's on the creator. So with all that being said, when I make messages, it's really just to see what spirit is in people. The laws that y'all vote for the lesser two evils, that is the laws that children have to live by. Because you guys have seen documentaries about um, drugs, alcohol, pedophilia, and all this other stuff. Um, and I want you to start connecting certain things because you guys are not connecting things. What I mean by connecting things is like we always hear about missionaries or military or people who go to Asia or Africa to, make charities for children who don't eat, or India or Brazil and all that. And then we also hear later that these people report, or the news reports, there's human trafficking or child prostitution and stuff. But with that all being said, I want y'all to see something because I'm sure very few of you ever check the age consent laws in those places. Well, here are some of those age consent laws for you guys right now. 11 in Nigeria, 13 in Japan, 13 in Japan. Now, a lot of y'all still have this mentality that, oh, that's over there. No. Now I want you to connect something because wherever or whoever colonizes you is who makes the laws. It doesn't matter where they're stationed. It's the fact that they colonized you and now you are part of them or else. What that means is that when someone takes over the land where y'all live and you don't agree to what they say, you go to jail or they kill you. That's what war means. So you can't call yourself African if you're under British rule. You're British. So with that being said, let's look at this. Go on Google and go see who the colonizer is for the place that you live now. Because again, the tree will never say Brazil. The tree won't say America. The tree, the giraffe, or anything won't say Africa or Alaska. These are names that are created for those parts of land. And the funny thing about those names, they don't outlive the earth. The earth outlives us. So, I'm not going to get into the whole spiritual thing about these are devils that have dominion. I'm not going to get into all that. Y'all should know that by now. Revelations 12, 1 to 9. Genesis 6, 1 through 4. Y'all should know all that by now. I was pretty consistent with all that. So what I want you to look now is connect. So connect the fact that a lot of colonized rich people go over to these poor areas, colonized, created poor areas, and they have their vacations in Asia, vacations in Africa, missions in Africa, charities in Africa, charities in Brazil, charities in parts of Asia. Look at those consent laws and start connecting things, y'all. Because where they come from, colonized USA or colonized parts of Europe where everything is 15, 16, 17, 18, when they go on vacation, they're now following those laws where they're vacating. And we all know what rape and molestation and abuse does to children. It makes them confused adults, which become criminals. But the criminal is really the person that went over there and did the act to those children. Oh, how sad you are to teach the kids that lie. Forget the past. From kindergarten to college, you're being graded on your past studies. When you go to court, you're being judged on past occurrences that they are trying to say you did. When you go to get clothes, shoes, they're judging what your sizes are by past measurements. When somebody hits you or somebody does something bad to you and you want to tell a friend, you're telling them something from the past. When you do your taxes, the accountant is looking at things that you did in the past. There is no way you can be in any system that uses money and does not take your past actions and use them for you, against you, or to confuse you. So there is no way that you all can be raising children and telling them when they get abused, raped, or molested, forget the past. Y'all should be ashamed of yourself doing that. If y'all never stand up to what happens in the past, how is it not going to repeat itself in the future? If y'all never stand up to what happens in the past, how is it not going to repeat itself in the future? I'm going to mention two things. So you have a popular name known as the nerd generation and known as gangsters, right? I'll break down a nerd and a gangster really quick for y'all. A nerd is somebody that was bullied in elementary school up through high school and was very smart, probably did the bully's homework, who's the gangster, bully's homework, and they got known for that, and then they ended up being something great in science, and then they're still having these little mental problems because of what they were called when they were younger, and now they want to be respected for being smart. Whatever. And then you have the gangsters who are most likely considered stupid in school. They didn't do well in school or had a brain and it wasn't cultivated correctly. And so then they went to violence and all that because they come from a colonized neighborhood where the colonizers' descendants created poverty and kept them impoverished and put drugs around them and all that. And they had no choice to either be either a drug addict, drug dealer, and they ended up being around a lot of violence because everybody's in these tenements in a colonized area called a project or somewhere where they're on top of each other and they don't have a lot of money. Now, what's annoying about going into the nerd generation and the gangster generation is nobody noticed. I noticed it around 2001 when I was living in a colonized land labeled LA. I started noticing gangsters who would be known as bullies in elementary school and high school who would beat up what y'all now call nerds coming together. Not on some peace and unity nonsense. They were starting to come together and do some dirt. And it was dirt. I was noticing because a lot of the nerd community would take classes from me and they couldn't do it and they would get very, 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 very frustrated. So, and even worse, the commentary I started hearing somewhere around 2000 or 2001 was, well, I'm doing my best. And it's kind of like I just feel sorry for you, like in elementary school when the bully's beating you up. Or, I know I'm off beat, but I'm trying. And that doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense. That's like the nerd community saying, that's like me saying to the nerd community, oh, Pythagorean theorem, algebra, a squared plus b equals d squared? No, it's c squared. So what, you're going to give me a pass for trying? I thought it was I thought it was D. No, it's C, and you can give me a pass? No. So why should I give you a pass if you're not on beat? And that's not even the basics of dance. That's the breadth of dance to be on beat. If you're not on beat, you're dead in dance. So why would anyone listen to a commentary of people or aliens who can't even find the beat in dance? Moving on. They started going over to the gangsters, who at that time, if y'all know anything about law, they had a lot of violent felonies, so they couldn't travel. And then they started traveling. That means they were in connection with the courts, and they were doing a lot of dirt. And that's just, I'm keeping it simple right there. So when gifted people who ended up being gangsters because of the one world system, when they started to embrace these nerds who didn't have the gift of dance, but they had other gifts. But because of the abuse they went through as children, they want to get back at society, get back at the bullies, and be the smartest, and finally voice their opinion, which is freedom of speech. But they still don't realize how trapped they are, because now you're becoming a bully yourselves because you're voicing an opinion and a gift that y'all don't have. Y'all still losing. You might be getting more money and you might be getting more attention, but y'all are still losing because now you become the oppressor and y'all were oppressed. So y'all lost. So nerd community, because it's alien to call yourself nerds, try to be human, just like gangsters try to be human. It's wrong to kill. It's wrong to fight for boroughs and blocks and all that stuff that y'all didn't create. Just like it's wrong because people beat you up because y'all smart. And now you want to fight back and be so smart that you're now talking dumb in gifts that y'all don't have. Y'all lost. Work to become human. Humans realize the gift they've been given temporarily by God or whatever it is y'all believe in, and they focus on uplifting other people with the same gifts. And if they don't have that gifts, then they look for people who have other gifts and hopefully cultivate those other gifts so they can do work in this society and this one world system in a productive level. That's it. Ooh, that's a confirmation. Ooh, that was great. And now moving on. Let's keep it on my eyes. So the word nerd, to keep it historical, came out in the 80s. I'm from the 80s. I went to junior high school and high school in the 80s, and it was popularized by a movie called The Revenge of the Nerds. Now, what was beautiful about not the movie, but the actual word nerd meant genius. I mean, a kid that was extremely smart and very studious, and it did things by the book and sometimes broke the laws of the book for a productive reason that the teacher didn't see or the system didn't see. So, for example, it was classic that nerds could not dance, 100%, because that wasn't really their focus. Now, if they did want to learn to dance, nerds were always very serious students. They would either go find a dancer in the school or a dance teacher, take thousands of dance classes, and if they couldn't do it, they were honest and left it alone. But if they really were passionate and still wanted to do it, they would find something that no one would think about, like making a game simulated, a simulated dance game, or making a robot dance, or something like that. But they would never. This is the one thing I respected about nerds. They would never defile themselves. They would never try to lie about something they couldn't do. And they would never try to be the head of something they could not do. That would be against the definition of a nerd. They are not the types to not be able to do something and then try to claim it and have an opinion on it and all that. That's not a nerd. So a lot of y'all who are doing that, especially in dance, you're sitting here critiquing dancers and you're barely on beat and and you're wanting to just voice your opinion. No, that's not a nerd. That's a person that's bullied when they were younger, trying to have a voice. Even though nerds were bullied, they were strong enough to get past that and make it into a productive life, not end up lowering standards in another art form they're not really good at because that's trying to bully the other way. And to make it worse, not only is it bullying the other way, it's bullying the person that never bullied you, because nerds and dancers have never had a problem. Because dancers are also known to be bullied when they were younger. And they're not classic of trying to bully anyone because they're too busy trying to study dance. So see those kids who are calling themselves nerds, or the adults who are calling themselves nerds in this generation, you have the definition all wrong. But you do have a chance to change and go to that place, catch up to real nerds who are probably sitting there making more dance simulated games or making dance robots at this moment who can really dance, not these simulations that look horrible, but really doing something monumental and getting the dancers that can really do the dance to be the simulated, not the ones in the video games, but actually I can see a nerd actually making a robot, an actual robot that can really dance well, but they would have to get the platform from a dancer who's living and pay them well, because that's what a nerd would do. A nerd is supposed to be someone that is extremely smart, studious, and very serious about what they're studying in order to improve something, surpass the teachers, and so on and so forth, and open a new door. How do I know this? Because I grew up with nerds. I went to school. I've said this in different interviews. In school, I knew a little bit of everybody, of what they called nerds, bullies, gangsters, dancers, gay, straight. I knew a little bit of everybody because I'm human. Because at the end of the day, all those categories are just trying to be human. Now we have the human definition of a gangster. Because for a lot of y'all who were probably born somewhere in the 90s, you're thinking gangster is something related to rap music and all that. No, 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 no. Gangsters go way back, way back. Even before the 1900s, it goes way back. But let's just talk about the 1900s. Gangster, another name is organized crime. What does organized mean? Because if you want to be stupid, you can be. But in history, we already know that once people were colonized, they had to agree with the colonizer in some way to get products that you all buy in stores. Whether the product is in the store or on the street, it's still the product from the system. Simple. Like we saw that sign, remember before, about drugs and all that? Who created it? A scientist did that works for the system. Even though that scientist wasn't arrested. Like many scientists aren't, who create all these drugs and diseases and viruses and blah, 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 blah. The point being is a gangster. The reason why they had to get rid of real gangsters is real gangsters started to become the police. And I don't mean they were the police. I mean they started becoming another police. This is what I mean. Now laws started to be created that you can't hurt someone without calling the police first and all that. Meaning the word vigilante. Vigilante meant you couldn't go out and just be the law yourself. You had to, call the police, and even the police, if they were corrupted, then say if a child was raped, the rapist just got away with it. Not when organized gangsters, or organized crime they called it, that was the negative name, or the organized mafia was in, as a child to a teenager who saw the end of real gangsters, the real organized, what the system called organized crime, the real version. I was just telling a bus driver this in the area, the colonized area I live in now. I was telling a bus driver how I remember uh, so-called rabbi. I wouldn't say they're all like that, but a so-called one world system agent dressed like a rabbi, because I don't believe a rabbi would do this, but a real one wouldn't do it. This rabbi was exposing himself on outside publicly at Port Authority to kids, exposing himself nude. He ran around the corner to do something, maybe to urinate or whatever. This is in the 80s. And someone sliced his neck and threw him in a garbage. Come to find out it was a 90-year-old lady. This is what I mean by organized crime. You never know who'll get you when you do something that's obviously wrong. Different from today. People didn't do a lot of rumors and all that before the 90s. People got at you, meaning took care of you, not in a good way, if they were sure you were a person who was doing something that was defiling. Also, a gangster didn't run around saying they were a gangster, and a gangster didn't run around showing off if they were doing illegal activities. That some of you might be saying, well, how did you know about it, Brian? Oh, I grew up in a very rich area, went to school in a richer area. That's what a lot of organized crime is. And you've seen it because you're in that area, but they didn't run around saying it. You just happen to trip up on it or something like this. And, it's hard to explain, but there's ways you find out when you're younger. But it wasn't in your face like a TV or a movie or that nonsense. No, they usually try to hide it. And that's why it was organized. And eventually the system had to get rid of it because they would have took over and set things up in the right place. Because you have to realize the really legal is colonization. Colonization's already illegal. Organized crime was trying to change that around. Now, were the gangsters doing things that were what we would call wrong, selling drugs and blah, blah, blah? Yeah, they were doing that too. That's the popular side that the system likes to put out there in the media. But what they don't like to put out there is that they did have a code of ethics. If you were that good kid going to school and all that, they left you alone. Sometimes they even put money in your pocket. But if you were the kid that wanted to mess around and play around, they usually let you in order to teach you a lesson, or because they like the way you handle things. But usually good kids and all that, they left alone. They wasn't really caring about people who were gay. They were more like, just stay over there. But if you were a pedophile, or if you're a person who lied, or if you're a person who likes to antagonize, you were gone. That was a real gangster. A real gangster was like your secondary police, but the right way. The right way. If you had a problem when you were younger, not financially, just a real problem, and you went to a gangster, usually the gangster handles it for you. Not like what y'all see in the movies, they handled it for you and then you have to give them a favor and all that dumb stuff. No, they handled it for you if they saw that it was really someone trying to oppress a child. That's a gangster. What is house? What is clubbing? Yeah, now a lot of people, it's hard to trust certain people because you have a heavy alien system that is here. A one world system where so many people follow it, so many people are afraid of it, so many people are afraid to expose things because they've already been in it. Now, when you meet someone like me who's not afraid of any of that, that's who y'all trust. Not all these people that throw rumors and, oh, I used to be a gangster, but then I changed my life. Oh, I used to be this and I changed my life. No, you can't even trust people like that, because what they used to do is the problem, because it was confusing and destructive. It's more easy to trust a victim of all of that. So, with that being said, the reason why I'm saying this is because very few people at this moment in the last 20 years that are in dance have done it for a living for the whole life. I'm one of those who've done it for a whole life. Not worked the table, then did it, got stressed, got a job at the post office, that whole thing, or went back to college and all that. No. No matter what happened, rain, sleet, snow, whatever, whatever went on in life, dance took care of the bills. Period. Until dance stopped dancing. What do I mean? Here we go. So the first thing to say about the house scene and about any club scene, I have to always say this in the beginning, because y'all believe in race and racism, and that's only because the school systems will keep teaching it, the media will keep showing it, politics will keep talking about it, science and medicinal will keep trying to use race and different skin colors as a reason to put medicines and experiments in y'all. The judicial system will use race as a way to be able to convict more people than other people. It's endless, the excuses they're going to use. But colonization, or better yet said, colonization, has tried to make race and racism valid, because then that validates the wars that they had for land and a planet that they can't control. Again, one hurricane, one tornado, every day, colonization is dead, because these buildings and everything are dead. But that's just the obvious common sense. That's what humans have, common sense. Most people don't. But that being said, since we're speaking race and racism, there is no denying, undebatable fact. If y'all believe in race and racism, white people, you are the problem all the time. And I proved that on education.bfg, and even on the posts right before this, the two posts about drug making. Who made it? White people. And the reason why I'm saying this is because I grew up, those who believe in race and racism, I grew up around white people. I went to white schools. And that's all I saw: incest, pedophilia, bestiality. Who colonized most of the planet? And then the pedophilia stuff, which is y'all again. That's all I saw by the time I got around 15. I was so used to it that when I first went to the first house club, it was mostly white. I was like, okay. And I seen white people doing miscellaneous things in the bathroom. I'm like, well, I've seen them do that in their houses when I was in elementary school. So I found it as, okay, that's normal for them. They'll tell y'all young, don't drink and drive, but they'll never tell y'all the age consent laws. They'll give y'all the news that'll tell y'all some weird thing like about 17 or 18-year-old person was raped and all that, but then you don't ever check the age consent laws around the whole colonized USA and find out it's 15, mostly 15 to 17 is the age consent laws that I put up on education.bfg. See, they're sneaky like that. Here's another trap white people do. Some of them may be pedophiles, but in the way of what is known as straight, and that means that, it's male, female, right? Then they'll bother a kid who they molest and rape to raise them to be homosexual. Bother them about being homosexual because in the Bible that they gave us, it'll say that Sodom and Gomorrah. But Sodom and Gomorrah, if you read it, they'll never let you read it because this is how the church building is tied into it. Church building is say Sodom and Gomorrah and just say gay sex, but you never read the whole actual story. Whole actual story will tell you that it's any age that was coming after the angels. So it's not gay sex. That would be whoremongers, polygamy, meaning just having sex with anything, and also part of pedophilia. Because then after that, Lot had sex with his daughters, and that's incest. Catch it. Catch it. So then what they'll do then after that, they'll wait for that child who was a victim to become a homosexual, and then the homosexual will have something against straight people, and they'll try to build their own community that supports the same world system because they make a lot of money because they're focused on showing people that they're normal. Obviously, it was a colonizer's game, white people's game. It's very strange for me. And still is strange to this day because I'm wondering what history y'all study. But until white people get rid of this out of school and out of politics and all that, they get rid of racism and race teaching, then it's all a joke. And they're a joke. Does that mean hate them? No. I'm saying this just from facts. I don't hate anybody because that's too much energy, and I've never experienced hate. Hate is an alien action. That's what created colonization. Humans love the DNA. And white people, please stop thinking you can remedy this with the, oh, I feel sorry for them. Oh, I have black friends. No. As long as every other non white race is paying for taxes that your ancestors and y'all still support because y'all vote. White people, y'all vote. Y'all work the jobs. You've been at the jobs and you've seen how they go against non-whites. Cut it out. I had a conversation with a white friend. It took him hours to admit it. But I was like, why I got a grill? And the only reason why he couldn't run, like he can run from most of the non-whites who talk to him because they're from the colonized or colonized ghettos. I'm not from the ghetto, so I know how to talk to white people. A lot of people who are non-white and they see me talk to white people, they go, like, how do you talk like that? I was like, damn slaves, but that's that's a whole nother story. I grew up with them, so I never saw them as anything special, and I never saw them as anything below. I just saw them as created. So anytime I didn't like what they did, I asked the creator, like, why you still have them here since they seem to be the problem? But going back to white people, if y'all want to have the remedy, you can't keep saying, oh, I love everyone and blah, blah, blah. And then you're still at the top positions in the one world system that your ancestor made by doing murder, rape, molestation, and lies, and drugging and poisoning children. You can't do that. What you're going to have to do, which is what you're not going to do, you're going to have to start giving a percentage of all that hardworking money that these non-whites put into the system and give it back, which is reparations, like y'all gave the Native Indian. But you only gave the Native Indian that because there's not many of them, because they're hybrid people. They come from a mix of y'all rape. Anybody with common sense realizes that. Native Indian, just the fact that you're called Native Indian is from supposedly quote unquote America, which is another lie. That's on education.bfg. That means this is a young country, so there's no way they could be the original people here. That means that it was a mix of the whites and the Africans. It's too boring to make that here. That's why the original Native Indian is this color. It's boring. That red Indian is hilarious to me, but I have nothing against them. But I love how y'all gave them reparations and not the original Indian that looks like this. Because again, if y'all gave all the races that y'all colonized, education.bfg, y'all know for sure there would be no poverty. And you need poverty in order for one world system to exist, because you need to make people believe that they need to work for something. But colonization had an inheritance. You gave some more and some less. Boring. And I've asked a lot of people on the internet if y'all want to test me, because there's websites where I can show you everything that I could have showed y'all in person before this virus hit. But no one challenged me because a lot of y'all following them. That's why I don't talk to non-whites that follow them, because y'all not worth it. Y'all not worth talking to. Y'all have all these different spiritual beliefs calling them devils, and then y'all following them. But pale-skinned humans who look white and melanated humans that look non-white, I'll talk to y'all all day, because love is the human DNA. Now, the funny thing is, when I started seeing people of other skin color doing it, I thought they were doing it just to get the money, which is still wrong. But then I thought, okay, you're not going to teach your children that. That's where I was wrong. They were actually following for real. I thought they knew better, and they were just doing this stuff because they were colonized. And in order to colonize, you have to rape the victim and molest the victim and um, kill the victim, and so they can be confused and be confused later on in life. But I didn't think they would follow, but they followed. So I was very, very, very confused for 15, 20 years when it came to people this skin color or like this, meaning Asians. And this skin color goes to Indian, it goes to Aboriginal, Natives, whatever y'all call it. To see y'all only have a choice of killing each other and putting each other down and believing that y'all created a verbal game called the Dozens, which doesn't make sense because that didn't start in Africa. Like, just use some common sense, y'all. They don't have that many words in African dialect, so. See, the overall vibe was only God can judge all this. That was the underlying vibe, and that's the correct vibe. Only God can judge all this that was just said. Sure, we have to hold account of people, but in the club, it was like the house scene, in the early house scene, it was like only God can judge all this. I have no time. So you saw all those different kind of people coming from different one world system jobs that they felt they had to do in order to make money in order to go out to the club. The vibe was like, take that costume off. We're not trying to see what you did before you got here. Just now enjoy this music while in the time we're here. We don't care what you do. Literally, all the false labels y'all taught to call people homeless, blah, 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 blah. You saw all types in the club. Midgets, prostitutes, drag queens, transvestites, lawyers, priests, doctors, whatever y'all taught to call it in school. All those people got down to one music. That's what it meant by house is a feeling. That's what it means. All walks of life together in one house. That's what that means.